Thank you for the warm reception, and thank you for the step, because without it, you probably wouldn't be able to see me. Some thank yous. Dr. Bob, I gave a presentation and a talk in Israel, and I forgot to thank you, which is outrageous, really. So many people open doors for these conversations, but not just open these doors, support activists and workers in this field. And people need support, and without that support, they wouldn't be able to continue the work they do. So on behalf of me, Bob, but on behalf of many other in these movements, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Karen, thank you, darling. You look great, okay? And I've met some wonderful, beautiful people, so I'm very grateful for you putting this evening on, for inviting me, giving me this opportunity. And thank you to America. God bless America. People who I won't name everyone, but people in here have opened up their doors to me, shown me absolute love and support. And do you know what you said about a godlike, or every time I get knocked down, something picks me up. Every time something goes wrong, and I'm at the depths thinking, what now? Something just goes, get up, yeah? And someone steps in and someone helps, and they either help me or they've helped my family. I get given peace of mind through many things, through support and love. So I wouldn't have been able to do this or continue doing this without the other people who stepped in at different times. I'm very grateful to all of them, and I show a lot of love for all of them. What have I thank you to Elon Musk, especially. I have to say a massive thank you to Elon Musk. Without Elon Musk, everything we'll get on to talking, and I don't shut up, so good luck everyone, yeah? And I'll try and talk slowly so you understand my accent, okay? Sorry, I get it. But thank you to Elon Musk, because without him, I'll explain, there's a cultural revolution brewing. There's a revolution going to happen in Great Britain, politically and culturally, and it would not happen without Elon Musk and without speech. When America voted for Donald Trump to save America, it wasn't to save America, it was to save Western civilization. The ripple that has come from the United States for free speech, and not just that, the confidence and the spirit that it's given many of us seeing your administration, hearing them, listen to Rubio, listening to Vance, listen to them lecture the European Union on our rights, listen to them lecture Keir Starmer. We know that we have friends in the highest places in the world, in the highest government in the world, who care about our speech. I'm not quite sure many of you understand the value of the Constitution in America. We live in a post-free speech era, and we suffer for it every day. And we're fighting for it. But I was going to come here and give a presentation that I gave when I landed in the United States of America. In one of my first days, I didn't know I was coming here, okay? I found out the day before, and I was actually in Portugal, and my belongings were in Spain, and I got a phone call saying, you're getting a visa tomorrow, you need to be at the American Embassy. I drove 8 hours, non-stop, accelerating, on the phone, get things planned, I'm going to America. I've been trying to come to America for so long, I thought this chance would never come. I got back to the UK, I flew here, I landed in DC. On the first day, I went for a meeting with General Flynn, and I'm very blessed to have met General Flynn. And he took me to Congress, where I met with Congressman Keith Self, who's the founder and leader of the Anti-Sharia Caucus, which now it had 30 members when I landed. There's now 60 members of Congress joined together. And when I met him, he said, would you give I explained the situation of Sharia Islam in Britain, in Europe, and he said, would you mind coming and addressing Congress on this issue? I said, of course I won't. I said, when? And he gave me the date, and I just said, yeah, of course I will. And at this time, I'm not very good, I'm a technophobe, yeah? I'm okay at talking, I'm not very good at anything else, okay? But then I went, and this is where I met Jared, and this is where things fall into place, okay? Because my cameraman had to go home and see his children. So I'm sitting there, I've just agreed to give Congress a presentation on Islam and Sharia. And for a presentation, I thought my last opportunity was Oxford University, where I gave a very good presentation, and I didn't want to do any disservice to my movement behind me or the cause. And then I met Jared in an interview at Dr. Bob's, and I said, I'm stuck. And I said, what are you doing for the next week? And he said, what? I said, what are you doing for the next week? Because I need you. And I kidnapped Jared, and Jared's still with me now, yeah? So I met Jared in America. And yesterday, or 2 days ago, I produced that same... when we spoke to Congress, I said, let us video it. And they said, this is a private seminar with Congress. I said, okay. so we can't video it. And then as soon as I finished the presentation, they all said, we need that on camera. I said, yeah, lads, I sort of was trying to say this. So I had the opportunity to give it again 2 days ago at Florida University. So I was going to come and deliver that same seminar here, but I don't need to because I've gave it. It's going to be released tomorrow. It's on a live stream on my YouTube, but the official video is going to be released, which is a video detailing what Islam is, all the aspects of Sharia, infiltration, deception, migration. These are all parts, how they operate, what's going to happen to America unless you wake up, all these things. But when I come here and I went to Dallas and I went to different cities and I saw the same things I've seen in Britain. I saw the start of the Islamization of America. The more I looked into it and I saw the growth just in Texas from 300 mosques to 530 mosques in 5 years. 600 active Islamic organizations working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to change the face of Texas. Texas has been chosen, I believe, to take the heart and soul out of the United States of America, because if they take Texas, they can take America. And this is a battle, if they can take America, we've got no chance. And if we lose, it affects you, because I've always said if Israel falls, Europe falls. If Europe falls, America falls, because Islam has its eyes on the world. It wants to conquer the world. It's not about Iran. It's not about individual nations. It's about them conquering the world. So when I come, I was worried. I was concerned about the United States with what I was seeing and hearing. And then I met the congressman. And I met wide-awake men who are getting educated, who are learning, who are forming a resistance while you're at a 1% population to fight Chip Roy, who hopefully will be the next Attorney General of Texas. But he fully got it. I've done this for 30 years in Britain. We've had jihad, we've had war, we've had rape, we've had all these problems coming out of Islam, and we've not had one single politician, not one, since the time of Churchill that has opened their mouth about Islam. Out of 650 politicians, we've had 26 children blown up in Manchester, we've had soldiers beheaded, we've had 52 bombed in the London Underground. We've had all this jihad in the name of Islam, literally quoting the Quran, and in all of that, not one single member of parliament has opened their mouth in parliament. Yeah. So to come here and meet congressmen, including high-ranking congressmen, to have individual meetings with different senators who are wide awake. I explained after my presentation to those members of Congress that if you were in Britain, every one of you would have been arrested and detained by our police for what you've said on social media. Yeah. But you now have 60 of them who are wide awake. And as I said, I gave that presentation. I was going to do that today. But I think it would be a waste of our time. I'd rather have a Q&A, but also I'd rather talk about my work and the work that I've done and have a discussion. I don't know how many of you know my full story. I'll give a brief little history. I was born in Luton Town in 1982. Luton's a rough town with lots of problems. When I was born, we had one mosque. We now have 45. I've seen the change. Yeah? I'm not here, as Dr. Bob said. I don't talk about what I've read. I don't talk about what I've listened to. I talk about my life experience. It's what I've seen. Yeah? I've seen the problems that are coming. I've seen the effects. I've seen the weakness and the inability by government and police to deal with these problems. I've witnessed it all. I've had cousins who are victims of rape gangs. I've had friends' fathers who are murdered by Muslim gangs. I've seen every single part of it, and I feel like I'm standing here now. Obviously, I started my activism in 2009, where I started a street protest movement called the English Defence League. We were, how shall I say it, we were a rowdy bunch. But we were an angry bunch of young English men who were fed up with the rape and prostitution of a generation of our kids. All of us in every town and city knew someone affected by those gangs. As I said, in Luton I had a cousin, but I knew so many people. And I started this street protest movement, and I got a quick lesson on politics. I didn't understand politics, or I didn't care about politics or media until that point. I was passionate about making money. I was passionate about succeeding. And at the time of starting the English Defence League, I had 7 houses, 2 businesses. I succeeded. I sometimes wonder where I'd be if I hadn't started opening my mouth about Islam. I'd probably have 100 houses. But we was doing well. But then it became a point where I understood that it doesn't matter how much money we make. It doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. I can move, I had moved, I'd made it out of the town. Like everyone in Luton, if you make money or you can succeed, you get out of Luton. Everyone gets out of Luton to get away from the problems. But then those problems are coming there. And when are we going to stop running? When we're on the beaches? Because America needs to realise this. Many Americans, you sitting here now, or many in towns and cities, you may not feel affected by this. You may think, that's in New York. Trust me, it's coming. Okay, it's coming, and it comes quick and it comes fast, and your town will change like that. And whilst it's happening, people will be too scared to speak about it, as they were in the UK. So for 30 years, they'd managed to silence the British population through the fear of being branded racist. The accusations and words of racism and extremism, it's a genuine fear, because it's not just that, it's the fear of being attacked, violently attacked, it's the fear of losing your job, it's the fear of affecting your social circle. I stand here now, 2 weeks before I come here, I was put on the front magazine of ISIS's latest magazine to be killed. So I got my first fatwa. Do you know how long I've been trying to get a fatwa? I've been working hard for 15 years, and it's took them 15 years, yeah? It took them 15 years. And some people are saying, how come you're still doing events? How come you're telling people where you are? I always said, if you worry about consequence, you'll never bring about change, ever. And I'll explain that there was one time, 3 or 4 years ago, when I worried about consequence, and I let myself down, I let my cause down. And that was when I refused to release the information which I got imprisoned for last year. I'll get onto that, but I want to start off just talking about what I found when I started the English Defence League. I found in every town and city I went to, I found families. And people say, what drives you on? What makes you keep going? I've met the families. I've met the daughters. I've met the fathers of these girls who have been raped, kidnapped, tortured in every town and city. So I travel around, and do you know, it's insane when you sit down. I went to the city of Blackburn very early on. I met a father, a brother, and a family. Their 13-year-old daughter had been missing for 3 or 4 days at that time. They're calling the police are doing nothing, and sometimes people talk about the violence that was on the streets sometimes in those movements. And the next day we had a demonstration in Blackburn, and it was kicking off with the police. And I went down to try and calm down our supporters. Do you know who was at the front kicking off with the police? The girl's brother. The girl's brother. So when you see these things, I always think, you don't actually know what's going on here. You don't know what's gone on. And you've had a generation of kids who have been taken, kidnapped, raped and murdered in towns and cities. And whilst it's happened, their parents have been attacked, their families have been attacked. No one's been there to support them. So I want to take this opportunity to talk about my work and what led me to that work. As I said, I was a street activist. I wasn't political. I didn't plan any of this. I was working on a building site, and 6 months later I was leading the biggest street protest movement Europe has seen. And there was a movement full of young men who get a lot of flack, but those young men, I'd say, are the last line of defence. They're the men that aren't going to back down. They're the men that are going to fight. They're the men that are not going to be... But I also have learned a lot. I've learned that was needed in England at that time. That boisterous, call it aggressive, that attitude of, you are not beating us into submission, yeah? You are not going to threaten us. You're not going to intimidate us. I remember getting phone calls from Muslim gangs. I remember when we first started in Luton over the protests over the soldiers, which was 2009, there's a Pakistani gang in the town, and one of their lads rang me up because I knew him. His name's Nasser. We used to be good friends, yeah. He rang me up, he said, Yaxley, man, you're not messing with the Gambinos, and he started naming all these Pakistani drug gangs. He goes, you're messing with jihadists and killers. And I remember standing there, I said, yeah, well, there's 500 of us. Yeah, because at that time in Luton, there was 500 young men who were Englishmen who were not willing to back down. So we formed a national movement. It spread like a wildfire. It spread like a wildfire because of the problems in every town and city. As I said, I worked as an activist, and back then you had to get on the street to get a crowd. You didn't have these opportunities. You didn't have the internet the way it is now. Facebook was just starting to get big. We started using Facebook, and it was about being on the street. And then I went to prison. There's a lot that happened in between this, but I'll fast forward because of time constraints. I ended up going to prison in 2014. I got violently beaten in prison. I lost my teeth. I come out of jail, and Ezra Levant. I've done a couple of interviews with Ezra from Rebel Media. Ezra contacted me, and I'm very grateful to Ezra because Ezra stepped in a lot for me. But Ezra contacted me and said, Tommy, I want you to make a video. I want you to start making videos. I said, Ezra, I'm back at work, yeah, because for 4 years I'd been on financial restraint since the start of my activism. They'd tried to crush us with lawfare, with everything you can think of. And you have to understand that when we hit the streets and started talking about rape gangs, no one knew of these rape gangs. They'd been successfully covered up in a conspiracy of silence from government, religious leaders, police leaders. Every institution that should protect these children had conspired to hide the crimes through fear of being branded racist and fear of upsetting the Islamic community. So they literally handed over a generation of Britain's daughters through fear and allowed these rapes. So 2014, Ezra says, make me a video. I said, I'm back at work. I haven't got time. And he sends me cameras to make videos. Anyone who knows Ezra, his sister's in there somewhere. Ezra's pretty persistent. Yeah? So Ezra keeps ringing me. I'm like, Ezra, man. And then just to shut Ezra up, I made a video. And I made a video, I retain information. So I made a video talking about Sweden and the rape gang and the crimes of Sweden and how Sweden's changed and what Islam's done to Sweden. A beautiful nation that's now, was the rate per capita, now it's London, now it's the UK, but it was Sweden. So I made a video, and the video done well. It started doing well, so then Ezra rang me back up and said, right, how much do you want to work full time? I said, what do you mean? He said, I want you to become a journalist. I said, I'm not a journalist, yeah? I'm an activist from the street saluting who goes out and organises rallies. He goes, I need you to show the world what you see. That's what I need you to do. I need you to take a camera and go on those streets and show everyone what you see. So Ezra gave me a full-time job. And that full-time job, and I said to Ezra's sister earlier, I'm not very good at having a boss, okay? So whilst Ezra tried to control me, when we sat down at the end of me working for Ezra said, I was trying to put lightning in a bottle. Yeah? So Ezra would tell me to do something, I don't want to do it. If you didn't tell me to do it, I'd do it. My ex-wife, my son's mum, she knew, don't tell me not to go out because I'm going out. Even if I don't want to go out, I'm going to go out. So that's always been my attitude. So when I had Ezra as a boss, Ezra was trying to keep me safe. Ezra was trying to put me behind a desk. My place ain't behind a desk. My place is on the streets. My activism and my journalism has shown that. So Ezra wanted to keep me safe. And then when I left Ezra, I went independent. And within 6 months, I got 13 months in prison for reporting outside a court case in Leeds. And Ezra jumped to my defence. And there was a mass movement started, a Free Tommy movement started. I was given 13 months in what was proven as an unlawful detention. I was released after 12 weeks of solitary. But when I sat down, Ezra was waiting for me when I got outside. And what this prison sentence done was it galvanised the public. 660,000 people signed a petition, 30,000 marched on Parliament. And when I saw Ezra, I said, you wouldn't have let me go to that court case, would you? He goes, no, I wouldn't. I said, I'm glad I worked for myself because I'm still glad I went and done that. But that spawned me on to becoming a journalist. So Ezra helped me, coached me, trained me, created me. So I'm very grateful to Ezra Levant. I'm very grateful to, and I know at the time, Dr. Bob's here. I know at the time Dr. Bob was sponsoring my employment. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know what Shillman Fellow meant at the time. But Dr. Bob was supporting Rebel, who was supporting me. So I want to bring on to the documentaries that I've come to make, because when they imprisoned me in 2017 for reporting outside a court case, I sat in that prison and I said, when I get out of here, I'm going to go to town on this. Yeah, I'm going to expose you. You've done this to stop us talking about the grooming. I'm going to create the best content I've ever created, yeah? And then I started on a project. So I come out of prison and I went to a town called Telford. And I chose Telford because Telford has a small Muslim population. It has a 1.7% population. So I thought I can get in that town. And we'd gone there as the English Defence League in 2010. They arrested and done a big grooming police case where the police identified 200 men from the town of Telford. They only prosecuted 11. They identified 1,000 victims, 5 of whom were murdered. Okay, burned alive, some little girls were set on fire. They were killed, and this is in one small town. So in that town I spent 12 to 18 months, and I interviewed the girls 3 times, 4 times, for 3 hours, 4 hours. And we built we built an investigation like a database, yeah? And when the men were named by 3 or more people, we went after them, yeah? And I said at that time, what it was about was showing the public what's happening. You know when you read about grooming, right? You read about these figures and these numbers. They're not figures and numbers. These are our daughters. These are our sisters. Yeah. So people need to feel and see what I've seen, and that's why we've done the documentary series. Because you need to hear from the girl. You need to hear from the mum and dad. Because I've sat around those tables. I know the heart-wrenching it is, and I know that until people understand the pain that each one of these girls has gone through. So I started my documentary series, and I went to Telford, and what I did is I built a database, and I've done a 5-part series so far called The Rape of Britain. I didn't really think. I want to show you now. Let me show you the promo for episode 1.
They have not defended the children of the poor. They are punishing the people who speak out in defence of the children of the poor.
I look at my kids daily and think, if you wasn't here, I wouldn't be here.
What happened the first time?
I slept with him.
How old was you?
I was 11, Tom.
He had sex with you when he was 11. So he raped you.
An independent inquiry into the sexual exploitation of children in Telford and Wrekin has been going on for well over 2 years. The police, social services and councils are refusing to help the inquiry at all.
We are supplying them with 40 years worth of information.
40 years?
40 years worth of information.
For 40 years children have been failed?
So that the inquiry
So
can
40 years children have been
full
failed?
understanding.
A deliberate attempt to cover up these crimes against little girls for fear of being called racist. They've known what has been going on in that town for 40 years.
They would talk to me about going to meet certain people, not to tell my dad if they told me to go to that person.
Who was the kingpin? Who was the main organiser?
I don't want to be living this for the rest of my life.
He was that hurt by it. He got out of the car and he couldn't wait for the police to come. He needed to go.
Family trees, networks, how they operate, who operates with who. Just so you understand, as we go along here, we have CPS solicitors, police officers, politicians. That's the level of connections who are involved and intertwined within these gangs. There are 5 dead females at the hands of these gangs in Telford alone.
I'm sorry for doing this. I mean, I have to be 100% before I make an approach. The hunters are about to become the hunted. This is a keel. He's come out of his house. This is the vehicle of one of our surveillance teams. Now, the reason why this is so important is they can get up close. They have zooming cameras at the front, zooming cameras at the back. I've got to be right with Jim Bayliss.
Over 200 men's names were identified by your police investigation, but only 11 were charged. Why is that? Did you have anything to do with the case's captain? Okay. We have serious allegations from children who say that you were involved in the rape and prostitution of them.
Mohammed, can I ask you some questions?
The rape of Britain. Saturday, 29th of January 2022, 2 p.m. in Telford. Be there. Watch live Saturday, 29th of January, only on Getter. Download Getter now from the App Store to follow my every move.
You can see there, 2022. Do you know how disheartening it is when I used to get a buzz off making people think and changing their minds. 2022, I was deplatformed of every single social media. I was invisible. I had Getter. Do you know when you're making the most important content you've ever made in your life and no one's watching it? It's pretty hard, yeah? It's pretty disheartening. And I didn't think, over the years, I've called it on with Islam, okay? Openly, I've spoke about it a lot. I've made many enemies, but I've never made it personal. When I went to Telford, this gang, the Benalis was the name of the Muslim gang in the town. They controlled everything. I couldn't believe that from 1.7% population. I went to Telford and all the lads in Telford like, "You've got to be careful here, Tommy." I said, "I'm from Luton Town. There's 50% Pakistani, yeah? 1.7%. How have you not got these people in order?" I said, "What is going on?" But they controlled the town with fear and violence. So they controlled the kids. But I went there. I knew every name, every family, every address. We were in their cars. We had it undercover in their restaurants. We knew everything about every one of them. And before they knew, so I'd done all the work. So I met all the families, done all the interviews, and then put the promo out, thinking, yeah, now it's on, lads, yeah? Because my focus of this was education, but also my focus of it was if these men are not going to be prosecuted, I'm going to show everyone who you are. Yeah? You're not going to walk the streets of this town again. People are going to know your businesses. We're coming into your businesses. I'm going to show everyone everything about you. And literally, I think they chartered flights to Pakistan because once the first promo went out, I put every one of their faces on the wall, yeah? Because I knew they're going to be pausing it and stopping it. And I made it, and I'd done a guess who board at the end. Guess who? And it just had, on the first one, we showed 3 of them, and then it had tick, 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 tick. Who's next, lads? Who's next? And I didn't think about the consequences of it. They blew up 26 things after this. They petrol bombed my car. They they went on the warpath. We show it if you want to watch the series, you can watch it at TR Films. So by episode 2, they're smashing houses up. We're at the houses. We're having to go up there. We put 30 men at the houses. They turn up, get out with baseball bats. They literally went on a warpath, yeah? I didn't think about it. I didn't think really. They went to my mum's. So my mum's neighbour said, "There was a car of Muslims outside the house today, video in your house." And there's a video. So I get the registration plate of the car, and I get a private investigator, and I look up the car. And the car's registered in Dudley. Dudley's 2.5 hours from my mum's house, but 20 minutes from their gangs. So I look at the man who owns the car, and I look for his Facebook friends. And he's friends with all the men who have been raping the kids. So I go to his house the next day. His house is in Dudley. And I bring a camera, and I bring men with me. And I bring the men to make sure they don't have a fair fight. But I bring the men because I know how these men work. Yeah, there's only one thing they understand. But I said to the cameraman, when I knock at the door, I'm going to tell him to come outside on his own, and if he wants to sort something out with me, we'll sort it out. And if I lose, we just never share the video. The video will never go online. So I knocked on the door, and a Muslim answered, Tommy, what are you doing here? I said, I'm here for Imran. Where is he? He said, Imran's my uncle. I said, where is he? He said, he's not here. I said, get him on the phone, tell him I'm here. And he gets him on the phone. I said, pass me the phone. I said, you went to my mum's house yesterday? I said, no, I'm at your house. I said, I've got all your addresses. Yeah? And then he said, I didn't go to your house. I said, the car registered to this address was at my mum's house. So I sold the car. And straight away, he's on the back foot. But I didn't go there again. You spoke earlier about being scared. I was terrified. Yeah? I don't want to be going up having rolled around. But I know the only language they understand. So I said, you need to tell all your friends, if you come to my house, we'll come straight back up to your house, yeah? Because the police won't protect you on this. I know they won't. There's no point in phoning the police because they just don't help you, yeah? But that element of front has worked with these. After that, I said they blew up, they petrol bombed my car, they threatened my children, they threatened the schools, they threatened everything. So I can understand why some journalists don't go for them, but I'll show a video now. But one woman, and you know, I went to I looked up one woman put on Facebook saying, why has no one killed these men? I will be one of the first to kill them, or something like that. So I tracked the woman down to a hostel in London, and I knocked on the door, and I wear a camera for everything. I knocked on the door, and a black lad answered, and I said, is this girl here? He said, what do you want? I said, is she here? And she come out, she said, what do you want? I said, are you a victim? Are you a survivor of that gang? She said, yeah, I am. I said, well, help me nail them. Help me nail them. I said, I've been working on them for 12 months. I said, you talked about killing someone. She said, well, yeah, I've got nothing to lose. So she was talking herself about going and killing them. So I said, look, get in the car with me. And we sat and we spoke for 2 hours. And I explained to her about the work I'm doing. And in the episode, you can hear the phone call, the next phone call. I'm up in the north of England and I'm working on these gangs. And then I get a message from this girl saying, you've got an hour to ask me whatever questions you want. After that, you won't be able to ask me any questions. So I ring her. And you can listen to the phone call on episode 2 or 3. And I ring her. And it's important that the public see this because these rapes might have been 15 or 20 years ago, but these women suffer every day. This woman, so she answers the phone, and I said, what's going on? She said, I'm in Telford, Tommy, which is 2 hours from London. So I thought, she's going to kill him. So I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm ending it. I'm ending it all now. And I'm like, darling, and I'm on the phone to her saying, well, don't end it. Your mum and dad love you. What do you mean you're ending it? So I thought she's gone up there to kill him. And then she just breaks down, and you can hear the emotion. You have to hear it, because I see and hear these things, and the public need to see it. She breaks down crying, and she's screaming, saying, I live torture every day. Every day's torture. When I interviewed her for the documentary, she talked about whenever she gets a new sexual relationship or partner, she has flashbacks from them raping her. And her life's been tormented and destroyed, but she breaks down crying and says she's not going to kill him, but she's killing herself right now in Telford. I'm like, darling, do you know what changed it? I said, I've just had a shit curry. Yeah? I said, I'm in Manchester, I'm in a house, I've just had a shit curry. She said, you had a shit curry? And it changed and I said, yeah. She said, did you order it or make it? I said, I ordered it. She goes, you don't order a curry, you make it. And you make it with love. I said, well, you get up here and make me a curry with love. I said, can't stop what you're saying, get to where I am. And she did. So you hear the phone call. She turns around from killing herself. And I said to her, let me nail them. Help me nail them. And these men all have successful companies. Do you know, I watched as one company shut, another company shut, restaurant shut. And I'll show you another video now. This is a video that because it was about putting it on the gangs. And we had a plan to go to every town and city, but I realised after doing this one, it took us 2 years to do the documentaries because people's houses were getting firebombed. They were literally going to war. But we can watch the next video now, which is the confrontations and us across the episodes, finding them and tracking them down, which I'll be honest, I loved. I love seeing the colours drain from their faces. One gentleman who works as a plumber, we rented a house through Airbnb, and then got a woman to call him round to fix the boiler. And when he was standing in fixing the boiler, I just walked in. So you didn't expect to see me, did you, mate? Like, you're now a star of episode 5. Yeah? But I'll show you, this is another promo for our work.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. I will look for you. I will find you.
There's a man going round taking names, and he decides who to free and who to blame. Everybody won't be treated all the same. There'll be a golden ladder reaching down when the man comes around. Hear the trumpets, hear the pipers, 100 million angels singing. Multitudes are marching to the big kettle drum. Voices calling, voices crying. Some are born and some are dying. It's Alpha and Omega's kingdom come.
Hey, look. Stop fucking filming me. Listen. Simple question then, Dave. Did you rape her after Ahmed Nawaz raped her?
No, sir.
Over 200 men's names were identified by your police investigation, but only 11 were charged. Why is that?
I've got to put some allegations to you. You've been raping young girls in restaurants, but get the fuck out of
That's why would I have young girls who named you as raping young children? I have multiple young girls, school children, on camera. I have multiple young girls who allege that you're involved in raping them and prostituting them. We have serious allegations from children who say that you were involved in the rape and prostitution of them, that you were a kingpin and having them trafficked.
I bet you didn't even see me here, did you? I've got some questions to ask you about allegations of child rape. You raped a 12-year-old girl, you took her virginity in a house next door to a mosque in Telford.
Why would 3 individual girls who do not know each other all be telling me and giving me statements that you have been involved in their grooming, in their trafficking and in their prostitution?
Well, can we talk? I've got some questions. We have accusations that you trafficked young children. You trafficked young children. You were the kingpin. You chose who they were raped by. You prostituted them.
She fought you whilst you dragged her knickers off her when she was 12 years old in the house next door to the mosque badge.
Look at these guys just making.
What were you doing hanging around with 13-year-old school children? You put on your car bonnet and you raced off because you were angry because you had been sleeping with your best friend Imran's underage girlfriend. Men in this town, Pakistani men in this town, got away with destroying young girls' lives. Now, you're famous. Everyone's going to know who you are.
When the man comes around.
Do you know, in Holland, these gangs are called loverboy gangs. And they made an educational video in 2007 that they tried to bring to the UK, but the UK banned it because it would be racist. And it was an educational video that was supposed to show the children at school to warn them about these gangs. As I said, Holland calls them loverboy. The UK calls them grooming gangs. India calls it love jihad. Now, we're in the United States of America. You have many Muslims here. Yeah? This is happening here. Do not kid yourselves. This is happening here. Because what we found, and what I was condemned for in those early years of my activism, everyone said I was fear-mongering, lying. There's now been policy and government study after study after study that has, as I said, that town had 1,000 victims, yeah? And the police identified 200 men. There's only 1,000 Muslim men in that town, yeah? 20% of the men in that town were identified by the police as raping kids. We identified 264. Another inquiry in that town identified over 300. The Rotherham scandal, so you have to understand the scale of the problem. We're not talking about a few rapes here and there, yeah? Every single town that has an Islamic community has children being trafficked, raped and tortured, yeah? Within full knowledge of the council. And the reason I say it is because you see the same mindset that allowed those rapes and the turning a blind eye and the reasons they allowed it is the same reason that you were allowed so much fraud in Minnesota. It's exactly the same. It's an unwillingness to tackle it, a fear of tackling it, but also it's a vote bank that they don't want to upset. So you can do billions of pounds worth of fraud as long as you continue to vote for us. And this is, even if you look at Minnesota, Somalian immigration, they're from the hottest place in the planet. Why have they ended up in Minnesota? They didn't choose Minnesota. Okay, they were placed in Minnesota because their birth rate is going to suppress your birth rate. They're picked to go into purple states. Even illegal immigration, if you look in the swing states, it was 700% increase. There was never going to be a swing state again if you didn't vote for Donald Trump. If ICE are not successful, and the reason I'll show you this work, because we've done lots of work. I've done lots of different documentaries. I've done 10 investigative documentaries. I don't just say it. We wouldn't be able to do this. You know the investigating of those gangs? You know how long we spent? We spent days following them and days sitting there for the right moment to follow them and question them. Sometimes they'd walk out of their house with wife and kids. We'd sit there again and say, I don't really want to question them in front of their wife and kids. Do you know what the good thing from that? Charlie Khan ended up getting sectioned in a mental house. Their marriages broke down, their families, because before this, they're all living the best lives. They control the town, they've got the businesses. Do you know the picture? One of those pictures there is outside we look at it, the man whose job it is to stop grooming for Telford Police, there's a picture outside a mosque of lots of Muslims with the police. You know these diversity photos that you're having here? You know, like you have these organisations who are having photos with the police, and they're criminals and terrorist supporters who are having photos with police. Well, the man whose job it is to stop grooming gangs is stood in the photo outside the mosque next to the main groomer. It's like, that's how much of a piss take this is. Yeah? And this is a small town with a 1.7% Muslim population. And Rotherham, which you've all heard of, probably, as the other scapegoat city, has 1,400 victims. Rotherham only has a 3.7% Muslim population. My town has a 50%. Oldham, you may have seen, and when I talk about, I'll tell it in the right sequence. Sorry, Karen, so I'll just carry on talking. Carry on talking. So I was deplatformed during this time, making these films. I made a 5-part series. I got to know the families, the girls. Still speak to them all now. They're suffering still every day. Never thought about the effect on them telling their stories. I didn't think about it. And then I didn't think about the after effect on them till we told their stories. And then I saw the after effect and the struggles that they face. But this is happening at a time when I'm censored. So I'm censored. I'm doing this work. Then comes along a court case where I reported on a young English boy. I'll tell you the story. I have to be careful here because I end up back in prison for what I say. But a young child gets a bottle of water poured over him. That young child is a Syrian refugee. The story goes worldwide, global. It's on CNN, it's on Fox News, it's on Chinese news, it's on Israeli news. It's talked about at the United Nations. And the story was that this Syrian boy who escaped war was waterboarded. That was the headline. Because he had a bottle. He was waterboarded in a racist attack. At the time, he has his arm in plaster. He has a broken arm at the time of this attack. And we're told his arm was broken in a similar racist attack. So very quickly, people start contacting me from the school saying this isn't the true story, and they give me a totally different version of events. So I make a video saying, you're being lied to. The public in the first 48 hours had donated £160,000 to the Syrian refugee. I made a video saying, look, this isn't the full story. There's these allegations, that allegations. There's something big has happened before this has happened. And they took me to court and they sued me. And a celebrity Muslim lawyer took up the case straight away. He was already working on the case. And this is in Huddersfield. It's nowhere near London where he's based. And he's working on this case. And I was offered the opportunity to apologise. And I refused. And I rang Katie Hopkins. Because Katie Hopkins had been taken through the courts. Yeah? Katie Hopkins had been taken through the courts. And she told me, she said, Tommy, you can't win. Okay? Just apologise. They're going to ruin you through the courts. But what people didn't realise with that story was when this happened, the young English boy who poured the bottle of water, his house was attacked. And I went up and met the family after a week to interview him. And when I met them, they were hiding in a hotel. The mother was crying. She said, we've got nowhere to go. She said, I've spent all my Christmas money, Tommy, all the money saved for the kids' presents, because she had 2 little daughters who had 9-year-old twins. I've spent it all. I've got nothing. I said, where are you going to go? She said, we don't know. So I said, okay. And this is 4 hours from where I live. So I said, come back with me. Okay? Come stay with me. You can stay with me. So I took them back. The boy lived with me for 4 years. Yeah? People don't know that. At 16, he became like your brother, didn't he? He was at our house for Christmas. But I took him home. I took them home because the whole country turned on them. The whole country called them racists. News presenters, Piers Morgan. So when I was offered the opportunity to apologise, I couldn't apologise because I knew it was wrong what was happened. And if I apologised, I felt like I'm throwing this kid under the bus. And he was, do you know what? This kid was a rough kid from a rough upbringing. But he was a good kid. He was a tough kid. But a real decent kid. You know, some kids now walk around with their hoods up. They've got attitude. They're rude to women. He wasn't. But he'd fight you. Yeah? He'd have a fight. He was a tough young Englishman. And I took him home. We got him working. But 2 weeks before Christmas, he barricaded himself inside a room and he tried to kill himself. Yeah? Because I don't think people understand what he went through. There was the amount of hate on his social media at that time. But as I said, I was offered this opportunity and I refused to apologise. So they took me to court. And when they took me to court, I always think of court and then I think of the court of public opinion. So I knew what had happened because I'd spoke to parents, I spoke to children. So I wore an undercover camera and I went up to teachers' houses because I thought, now I need to prove what happened. And when I went to the first teacher's house, he come out, he's an Asian teacher. I would say watch this documentary, but I'd go to prison for telling you to watch the documentary. So I went to the Asian teacher's house and he come out and he said, Tommy, I took the money. I said, what do you mean you took the money? He said, they paid us. I said, how much did they pay you? £18,000. I said, who paid you? He said, Kirklees Council. I said, so you were paid not to tell the truth about what happened here. So as I told the truth, they paid every teacher. I went to the head teacher's house then, and the head teacher says, Tommy, you're never going to get the truth out there. He said they got the head teacher, they made him sign an NDA, and then they walked him off the school property 3 years prior. He's never worked a day since. They closed the school. Yeah. So when I looked at who paid them, the head of Kirklees Council is Shabir Pandoor, a Muslim gentleman. His brother is the lead imam who organised the protests outside the school at the same time. Huddersfield at that time had the biggest Muslim rape gang scandal in the country's history. So the news disappeared from this and went on to Muslims being victims of racism with this. So one woman, a mother I spoke to, made allegations against the Syrian refugee. She said that he beat and bit her child. But she after 48 hours, she made a statement saying what she said wasn't true. So I knocked on her door with a hidden camera and said, I'm just trying to understand what's happened here. She said, Tommy, they threatened to rape us. And this is all on camera. So I said, who threatened to rape you? He said, we've got to live here, Tommy. I said, okay, I get it. I said, so the statement you made that you put out isn't true? She said, no. I said, so did he do it? She said, yeah, of course he did. I said, that's all I need to know. So I compiled all this evidence on camera, I put video after video. I got 7 teachers on camera. One teacher, I knocked at that door and the woman answered. She said, I know why you're here. And she said, I said, the truth hasn't been told on this story. She said, you're never going to get the truth. She said, no one's allowed to talk, Tommy. She said, you're here for my son. I said, yeah. She goes, he can't talk to you. I said, did they pay him? She said, no comment. I said, okay. She said, I can't talk to you either, Tommy. I said, why can't you talk to me? She said, I'm the chair of governors. I said, they paid you. So I put in a freedom of information request. When on the third effort, they answered. They spent £274,000 on buying non-disclosure agreements for their staff. Whilst they bought their non-disclosure agreements, they used the media to tell the whole country I lied. So I go to court. I produce covert recordings on 7 teachers. 5 pupils come to court and testify and give evidence. A girl beaten with a hockey stick. Another girl attacked and beaten. All these different things. I get the school records that prove, all of these things prove, not just what I said was true, but what I said was mild. Yeah? I didn't even tell everyone the truth. But these covert recordings get it. So I produce it in court, and as our witnesses, the children, get up to testify. Do you know the boy who had a broken arm? When I interviewed the head teacher, it was all on covert recording. When I interviewed the head teacher, he says, do you know how he broke his arm? I said, how? He said he was attacking a boy 4 years younger than him. And he got pushed off of him by an older pupil, and that's how he broke his arm. I said, so he wasn't the victim of a racist attack that we were told. But in the process of this, a young family's life was destroyed. A young boy still suffers now. Yeah, he's had to go back. So we go to court, and I know the truth. I then get all this on covert recording. I laugh because I think I've got you. You're nailed, lads. Yeah, I've got the truth for the public here. So I'm laughing. I produce it all in court. The day after producing it in court, they smashed my mum's house to pieces, and which can only have come from their lawyers, because their lawyers realised, and their lawyers are the lawyers for every jihadist. My son, you can watch it, it's in the documentary. He gets phone calls. My ex-wife gets phone calls. They threaten my ex-wife's home. Now, in the documentary, after threatening my ex-wife, they read out where she lives, and no one knows where we live. Yeah. So straight away, we've moved 8 times. The kids have 8 times. So in this time, they hire Antifa to deliver the legal papers for this case at my family home. This resulted in my divorce. Yeah? This resulted in my divorce. So all of this is happening in the film. I produce it all in court to the judge. When the children get up to testify, all the media walk out. I've never seen anything like it. So I say to the judge, so none of this is going to be reported. This is before we cottoned on to citizen journalism, before we filled the courts with our own journalists. Yeah? Every journalist walks out. So everything the 5 witnesses said, the public don't get told. And at the end of the court case, The judge gave me an injunction, preventing me from showing anyone anything from the court case. So all the covert recordings were listed in his injunction. So all the proof I had, and this is where I said I failed, because I walked out of court, and for 13 years up to that, I'd lived my life saying, if you worry about consequence, you'll never bring about change. So don't worry about consequence, just do what's right, and it will come good in the end. And I walked out of court, but I'd previously, the 2 years before, done the solitary confinement, which damaged me. I went into prison, one person, come out another. It changed my personality. I suffered a lot behind the scenes. So all this had gone on, and I'd come out, and I should have played the film. But the truth is, I was too scared to play the film. I was scared of the effect of going back to jail for 2 years, the solitary confinement. I was scared of the effect on the family. So I didn't play the film. I didn't play the film, and I moved abroad. I went to Spain. And in this time, I was in a dark place, man. I was in a bad place. I was still nipping back and doing the work, because I still wanted to punch back, but I wasn't in a good place. And I remember I was in Spain. I hadn't played the film. It ate me up for years, man. And it ate me up because I thought, I've got a bomb. It's like holding a bomb in your pocket. And that bomb can really damage them. But if I throw it, I'm in trouble, real trouble. So I go to Spain, and I remember I was sat in Spain, and my phone turns on. And my ex account pops up. And I was censored from everyone. I was like, and I looked, and Katie Hopkins was up. So I rang Katie Hopkins and said, my ex has just come back on. Yeah? Yours is back on. She went, what? I said, our ex accounts are back. And remember, Elon had bought X the year before, but we still didn't get our voices back. Okay? So my ex account's on. October 7th happened. Protests are all over the place in London. Capitol's been taken over, week in, week out. My ex account comes on, and I'm like, oh, mate, now the fight is on. Yeah, we're back. We're back. So I travelled back to the UK, and I called a meeting with lots of people who had been censored previously. From Maya Tusi, who's a great journalist and activist, to Cole Benjamin, to Lawrence Fox, to Calvin Robinson, to all these different, Katie Hopkins, and I asked them all to come together for 2 days in a hotel. And when we met up, the idea was, I said, we can try and start a political party. We're not going to have no hope. We've got no money, yeah? But if we change the culture, we change the politics. Now, we've all been censored. We've all been attacked. What can we agree on? It was similar to the values you just said, that your party. So we spent 2 days together, and we brainstormed, and we went back and forward, and we had multiple meetings for months, and I invited Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson flew in. And basically, because Jordan Peterson's group, which is called ARC, are attempting to do a cultural revolution, really. But a cultural revolution has to start on the street. It doesn't start with the academics. It doesn't start with the minds. It starts with the people on the ground, and it has to come from there for it to be a success. So we sat together, and we got it down to 5 values that we agree on, not what we disagree on. And there's a lot of egos in the room, yeah? Everyone's got an ego, whether they want to admit it or not. And people said, you'll never get them together. You'll never get it to work. So I said, okay, right? So we spent these days together, and we come down to 5 values. We are a Judeo-Christian culture, yeah? And we need to get back to it, yeah? We need to remember the values that built this country, whether you're religious or not. This is what built it. This is what made it a success. This is who we are. If we want to regain who we are, this is where it comes from. We all value free speech, and we've got to fight for it. Yeah? We are against LGBTQ plus indoctrination within the education system of children. We are against Islam, and we are against mass immigration. Yeah? And if we can come together now and agree to work on these 5 values, but we share the message. When we put out a message to unite this country, it comes from every one of us. And the purpose of this was that it wasn't the Tommy Robinson cultural movement. This wasn't mine, yeah? And this wasn't me that walked in and said, we're doing this. We spent 48 hours brainstorming, so by the time we walked out of that room, it was theirs. It was all of ours, yeah? And we're agreeing now to work together. We're going to, when I make a promo or we make a promo, we all share it at the same time. Because you see, if we do that, we beat the media. We have got a bigger reach. Because Katie Hopkins, I was still banned from YouTube at this time, yeah? I was still banned from YouTube. Katie Hopkins is on YouTube. You're on X. You're on TikTok. Right, we can reach the public now, yeah? It's not me, it's us, yeah? So we decided on the name Unite the Kingdom. And we organised our first event. And I went for a meeting with the police prior to this. And bearing in mind, I've led the English Defence League. I've led a rabble at times, sometimes ashamed of our behaviour at times. Learned a lot. This wasn't about young men being angry. This is now about winning the hearts and minds of the British public at a pivotal moment in our country's history when our culture is disappearing. We all now realise that. So I went for a meeting with the police, and in the first negotiation with the police, I explained to them, if I want to, I can organise a demonstration on the same day as a Hamas rally. And if I want to, I can do it in East London. And what you know is that thousands of young men are going to come. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. But what we've looked at is every other culture and community in this country. We've looked at Black Lives Matter. We've looked at the Hamas rallies. We've looked at what they're allowed to do, and we've looked at how you treat them. And we want the same treatment. And what I'm going to tell you now is we're going to attempt to work with you in a new relationship, because we've been at loggerheads with each other for 10 years. I believe we've been turned against each other for 10 years because we support you. Yeah? We don't want to be fighting you. Like, that's what's been happening at demonstrations. We don't want the British public to be fighting you. Nationalists to be fighting you. We want to work with you. So what we're going to ask is, I want to have an event outside Parliament. I will work with you entirely. We do not want to see your police officers. We will police ourselves. If anyone causes trouble, we will deal with them. We will not allow face coverings, because that's how you get infiltrated. That's why January 6th happened. If anyone covers their face, we will remove their face covering ourselves. And then we worked with men. We called meetings from different football groups across the country. We held meetings and said, like, we need to police ourselves. If anyone comes and they're angry, we need to put them in place. This is about a cultural celebration of British identity. It's about celebrating who we are and giving back people the sense of identity and belief that we can come together, that you're not alone, that you're not a fringe voice, that you are the mainstream, and that we need to build a brothers and sisterhood again. We need to build back Britain, and we need to build it back from the street. And we had massive success. We had 30,000 people, and we brought music and culture and art, because these are the things that create Britain and are beautiful about Britain and what differs us from the other culture that's trying to take over Britain. So we bought music, and we had girls on piano singing beautiful songs. We brought back patriotic hymns. We had a gospel band from a black church come and sing, and all the music and all the words were about a message about resistance, fight, free speech, who we are. And it was a massive success, and we had 800,000 people watching live. And what we did is, through X, yeah? And what we did is we invited the new media, the TikTokers and the YouTubers and the podcasters, and we treated them like royalty. And we got them up on stage to promote themselves one by one on stage. We went from 30,000. We then organised our next event on the 27th of July. I publicised all these things. We had our event, 100,000 people turned up. The biggest demonstration at that time by British patriots the country's ever seen, 100,000. And we acted. We acted impeccably. Our behaviour, we done so much work in the build-up to it of messaging, of if you don't want, they want you to riot. That's what they want. Because then they use the media to tell everyone you're thugs, you're hooligans, and no one wants to listen to you. We're not letting them decide how we act. We will decide how we act. We will not rise to provocation. And do you know what? It built a new relationship with the police. The police were great, okay? And we thanked the police at the end of each demonstration. I said, thank you, yeah? Thank you for recognising what we're about. And since then, I've seen a total change. I mean, a revolutionary change in the police's relationship with us. Yeah, they've seen it. But I made it very public about what we were planning, what we were doing. Maybe it was a stupid move, because on the 28th of July, I was detained at the border within 12 hours of the event, and I was detained under the Terrorism Act. Some of you may have seen this. I was prosecuted under the Terrorism Act. I'm grateful to Elon Musk for stepping in and funding the legal defence. My name was cleared, but there was multiple. When we had that moment on the 27th of July, I weighed a lot of things up. I thought, things happen for a reason. Now, the film that I refused to put out was leaked in the United States two years before. When I was in Spain, it was leaked. It was shown in a cinema in Florida. And I thought they'd come for me, but they didn't. So I'm then weighing it up. We're building a cultural movement. I said, if I get a big crowd in Trafalgar Square, and I said to my kids, I've got to do this. I don't have a choice, really, yeah? I need to show the world this film. I will go to jail. I know I'll go to jail, but I may get 10 million people to watch this film at an event in London with 10,000, 20,000. Now, at the event, 100,000 people turned up. And I said to the crowd, you're going to have to bear with me here, because I'm about to release a film. And then I said to the courts and to the Attorney General, prior to this, when I organised my first demonstration, the Attorney General sent a letter to my lawyer straight away, saying we are contemplating prosecuting Tommy Robinson for the film that was leaked 2 years ago. So they didn't come for me for 2 years. I organised a rally. I'm back on X. They come for me. Now, in the build-up to 27th of July, the film was in 2 places on 2 YouTube channels, and it vanished off both of them. So the people rang me up and said, the film's been deleted. YouTube have deleted it. I knew at that point, I rang my solicitor, I said, they're coming for me. And they're going to come for me, yeah, because I'm organising rallies again. So they're going to lock me up, because you don't get a jury, so I know I'm going to jail anyway. They're going to lock me up, and no one's going to see the film. So 27th of July, I'm back on X. I release the film, I pin it, and in my speech, I say, come and get me now, yeah? Now come and get me, okay? And I knew at that time, so they thought they were, before I come back on the 27th of July, I knew they were coming for me for contempt. But they thought they were putting me on trial. I was like, I'm putting you on trial, you morons, yeah? I'm about to show the world this film. I know you can't help yourself. You're going to lock me up. The world's going to hopefully watch the film. So 27th of July comes, I play the film. I leave on the 28th before they can grab me. Yeah, I leave on the 28th, and I was in a bad place again. I was sitting out in Spain thinking, oh man, I'm going to get 2 years, 4 years even, solitary confinement. And I'll be honest, I always say, I think I'm good company, yeah? I'm not that good company for 24 hours a day on my own. I went into prison and left prison over 7 months. I didn't see a person, yeah? It's pretty soul-destroying, but I come back to the UK, I come back to hand myself in, and we have a demonstration on the 26th of October. They grab me on the 25th, and they remand me. They hold me at Felixstowe police station. And I'm sat in the police station, I'm arrested on the Friday, and on the Saturday is our demonstration, United Kingdom. Under the door start coming pictures. The police officers are printing off pictures of the event and posting them under my door. I'm reading them, I'm looking, thinking, and it's thousands to send. My door opens at 11 a.m, it's the policewoman. And she's got TikTok Live. She said, Tommy, look how many are there. Look how many are there. I'm like, wow. And they could hear my phone call, so I made a phone call. And obviously, I know people are going to be angry. So I rang the team and said, no anger, just celebrate, yeah? Don't give them what they want. Do not give them what they want. That's our messaging. That's my message from here is, you will let me down, you'll let your country down if you descend into violence on London today. And I come back out at 6 o'clock, and I walk out, the 2 desk sergeants, I said, you fucking nailed it, lads. You nailed it, yeah? Said, massive, no trouble, yeah? So then I got on the phone, I was like, yes. And then I was sentenced, and I went to court before the judge, and the judge gave me the opportunity, because at this time, the film was pinned. It's been pinned for 2 months. It's probably on a few million views, yeah? At that time, not that many, and it's pinned on my Twitter. And he said, remove the film from your Twitter, I'll drastically reduce your sentence. And I had a pre-prepared statement, which I read to him, which said, if you want to send me to prison for telling the truth, you send me to prison for telling the truth, let the world watch it, yeah? Because I'm willing to go to jail for this, yeah? And what they didn't know is, as I said, I had a vision that if they locked me up, I was worried, I was scared, I'll be honest. Prison for me is a death sentence, possibly. If not, it's my brain frazzled and coming out in a bad place. But I played the film, and I was transferred to maximum security. I went from Belmarsh to Woodhill. I was put on solitary confinement. In the first week, I sat down with a psychiatrist, because when you're on solitary, you have to see doctors. And I said, what is 9 months of solitary confinement going to do to me? It's going to destroy you. I said, how are you doing this for a civil offence? It's not even a violent crime. It's a civil offence. How are you able to do this? Because your life's in danger. I said, of course it's in danger. You just took me to a maximum security jail, 40% of Muslim terrorists, 40% of Muslim killers. Of course I'm in danger here. I shouldn't be here. I should be at home. But anyway, they held me on solitary confinement. 8 weeks in, 9 weeks in, I ring home, my son's screaming, Dad, Dad. I'm like, what? What's going on? I'm thinking there's a problem. Elon Musk has pinned the film. I'm like, yes! It was at that point that it was mission accomplished, yeah? I just floated around that cell. Every phone call I got, my son went, every phone call he said 50 million, 60 million, 80 million, 90 million. The next visit, my kids come in, and I might probably seem deflated. I try and pick myself up each visit so that they think I'm good. And I sat there, and he went, what's the matter, Dad? I said, nothing, man. He said, you wanted to get 10 million views. It's on 100 million views, Dad. I went, yeah, you're right, actually. You're right. Yeah. And I remember in that week, I thought, I bet I feel freer than Keir Starmer right now. Because The blowback from Elon Musk against the British government. And do you know what else? Do you know that episode 1 you just saw the promo for? That's a beautiful girl called Nicole. She's got 5 children now. She suffers every week, every time, yeah? She's still suffering from those rapes and from the problems from it. That got 36 million views, her documentary got. So remember, I made it when no one could see. I'm sitting in jail to know 36 million people are hearing her story. I'm sitting in jail to know the most talked about topic on world stage is the rape of Britain. Elon Musk was using the phrase, the rape of Britain. So them thinking they put me on trial, obviously, look, I spent 7 months in there. I was released after 7 months. And in my head, I'm thinking, we need to start where we left off. And I felt like I've been punched every day for 7 months. And how do I punch back? So when I come out of jail, the first thing I done was September 13th. That is when we descend on London. And I knew that video it had 5 million views. So I knew I had my opportunity, was the first words I said. So I gave the words of September 13th, which was our event in London, was to restart the cultural revolution that they had thought they'd stopped. So they thought they stopped it by imprisoning me, but not just imprisoning me. You have to understand that the riots were happening that summer. Lucy Connolly was a mother. She got 31 months in jail. Peter Lynch was a grandfather who committed a non-violent crime of holding up a banner at a protest. He got 2 years in jail. He killed himself. He never left prison. Now, what that summer was about, my imprisonment, locking me up, they knew the world could see the film. 167 million people watched that documentary. Mission accomplished, yeah? They saw the corruption of the judiciary. But what locking Lucy Connolly's mother up, Lucy Connolly is a mother who posted a tweet and deleted it after an hour. She got 31 months in jail. All of this tyrannical action and weaponisation of the judiciary and the media was to instill fear in the British public. It's what January 6th was about for you guys. It was about scaring the British public. Rather than scare the British public, they lit a fire in the belly of every British mother, of every British grandfather. My imprisonment had the total adverse effect, and I laugh now because every time they think they're going to take us down, they just fuel our fire. They forget that now the world can see. Elon Musk has given us a voice. I'm now, I don't want to boast about it, but probably one of the most watched journalists in the world, yeah? So you're going to try and shut us down. You're just going to put more fuel on that fire. So we then come to, I'll show you, I know what order. Can we flick the order? Can I show the UTK one? So our last event, this is an aerial shot. No, the one before that, not the song, the other one. This is an aerial shot of our last event on September 13th. This is the biggest event ever in British history.
Debate about how many people were at the Unite the Kingdom march yesterday, led by Tommy. So between 110,000 according to the mayor, 150,000 according to the
official police estimates are between 110,000 and 150,000.
That's all the crowds. They go from there.
Iraq War demonstration all those years ago, and that was 1 million people.
Because they're lying to you.
There was over 1 million.
Certainly, I knew people there who were saying, 3 million. It wasn't 3 million. It wasn't 1 million.
More than 100,000 people gathering to march in central London, a sea of flags.
Jackie says 150k. I reckon millions were there.
Black lives, they had to close Blackfriars Bridge and Lambeth Bridge because there were so many people the other side they couldn't move.
150,000 attending yesterday. Are you serious? Look at the drone footage.
Westminster Square was packed solid. The road going up where the march was going to follow was solid.
The lying police and mainstream media are trembling.
You better believe the government are worried, okay? They're worried because people have spoke for 15, 20 years about when the British lion wakes up. I've always heard it. When the British wake up, when the British wake up. And I've been banging my head saying, when are they going to wake up, yeah? They're awake. The country is awake. Lots of things had to happen, unfortunately. A major part in that was my imprisonment, the riots, but October 7th was a huge part in the awakening that has resulted in this. The public had to see, you had to have 4 years of Joe Biden. You had to get a government with a mandate of Donald Trump where they can do what they want you to do. That needs to be done. The British public need to be at such a position where we need real change. And outside of politics, 9 million people voted for Keir Starmer, 20 million people didn't vote. I see my role not in politics, I see my role in culture and journalism, activism, bringing people together, because 20 million people didn't vote, and we will electrify that 20 million people. Before the next election in 3 years, we will reach them, we will captivate them, we will mobilise them, and we will direct them. That's our role. as we're in America, 86 million Americans didn't vote. I don't understand why the political parties don't try and reach these non-voters. I don't see them trying to reach them in Britain. We will reach them because those people are our people. They're the abandoned. They're the abandoned, the fed up. They don't feel like they're part of the system. They don't care about politics, but they care about culture and identity. I'll quickly now, because I know I've been talking for a while, I need to get carrying up. I know that one more thing. I went to Ireland 4 years ago. Who's been watching what's happening in Ireland right now? Come on, the Irish. My mother is from Ireland, Dublin. Do you know what's mad? So, Google Charles Darcy. Charles Darcy was killed in 1916 in the Easter Uprising. He was 15 years old. He was shot in the head by the British. Charles Darcy had a brother, James, who had a daughter, Mary, who had a daughter, Rita, who had a son, Tommy. So, when my mum used to say, it's in your blood, all right? It's in your blood. But I'm born in England. I'm loyal to my country. I'm an Englishman. I'm proud. I love my mother. Ireland's her country. England's mine. I fight for Britain. But when the Irish started resisting 4 years ago, my mum is a 4'11", mad little Irish woman. She's one of 8 children, and they're all mental. Yeah, I knew, don't mess with an Irish woman. Yeah? So when this started, I thought, well, there's going to be some problems in Ireland. Yeah, the Irish will resist this, and I was waiting. So I flew straight to Ireland at this time, and the Irish government called for violence against me. Yeah? They literally said that I shouldn't be able to walk the streets of Ireland. They said that in Parliament. But I went there and I made a documentary. If you find time to watch it, it's called Plantation 2, Rise of the Celts. And I went there and I wore a hidden camera, and I went up to all the women in the towns and cities where all the new migrants are in hotels. Killarney, beautiful city. And I went up to the women on camera and said, and this is the self-censorship, I went up to them and said, what's it like here with all the migrants in the hotels? And they're like, I can't walk the streets. I work there, I live there. My husband has to come to work to walk me home because all the men are harassing us. My friend was sexually assaulted. I literally got every woman I spoke to on covert recording terrified. Yeah? That is how they feel. Yeah? Terrified. And at that point, I'd say, I'm glad you say that because I'm a British journalist. Come here. I start waving over my cameraman. Can't say that on camera. I can't say that on camera. So what I showed in the documentary is that every woman I spoke to was scared. Every one of them was terrified, but not one of them would go on camera to say it. Yeah? That is self-censorship. I'll quickly show, can we show the promo for the Irish documentary quickly? It's just a 2-minute thing. I'll be 2 minutes now, Karen. I told you I wouldn't shut up, didn't I?
Maybe because there's been a really big influx in Ireland recently. People are actually out on the streets protesting.
Anti-immigration protests are akin to the Ku Klux Klan.
I'm very concerned about the rise of the far right.
Labelling opponents far right. They did the same in Sweden.
Where did they get the time to protest? These people are out of work. They've nothing else to do.
I'm here today to secure the future of the children of this country.
We wouldn't be out here marching today if there were 6 or 7 busloads of Ukrainian women and children pulling up, but not military aid men.
A majority of international protection applicants are single males.
Yeah, it's a very different Ireland than the Ireland I grew up in.
Do your job. Find out what happened to these countries that already took them in.
The reason I quickly show you that is because of what's happening in the Republic of Ireland. I was inspired by the Irish. As I said, at the time I was censored. I went straight there, made a documentary because I thought Ireland will fight. And I didn't want to be inspired by the Irish. I didn't want to be. No, what I mean is, I didn't want to be inspired by the Irish. I want us to inspire everyone else, the British. Yeah? Which is why now, on May 16th, I think that the reason why it's important, you're in America, you may not think it's important, unless there's a cultural revolt, unless there's an uprising, unless there's unity amongst European patriots, which we've started. I flew, before I come here, I went to meet the Deputy Prime Minister of Italy. I went to meet Eric Zemmour, a lead politician in France. I reached out to the leader and spoke with the leader of Vox in Spain. We reached out to Chega in Portugal. We spoke to the AfD in Germany with a vision that if we're successful, that's why so much is riding on this for me, because I believe it's for Britain. If we're successful on May 16th, the trajectory that we're on at the minute, which is the world is going to watch. 66 million people watched our last event. Forget Live Aid. Yeah? This is the next biggest cultural revolution that can inspire a generation, that can inspire men and women to realise now is the time. We're not going to get another chance. Now is the time, the momentum's with us. And I went to all those European nations to ask them if they'd join us. If we're successful on May 16th, there's a date coming up of September the 12th. It's the date that the Ottoman Empire was stopped in the wholesale massacre of Christianity at the Battle of the Gates of Vienna in 1683. When we revolt in Britain and celebrate our culture as we have done in these events, will they do it in Rome? Will they do it in France? Will they do it in Berlin? And at the minute, we've built an alliance which needs to be built. And we're talking with groups about a cultural revolution, not just in Britain, but across Europe, because we're at a really running out of time here, yeah? But we are still the majority, but not for long. And the violent, hostile migration that we've received, which is a danger to us, but when I talk, we're in the United States. If Europe falls, it's a danger to you. If our countries, do you know, when I say that, you just went to war with Iran, and Britain and France, for the first time, didn't stand by you. Why do you think that is? I'll tell you why it is. Because they've got 8 million and we've got 5 million. And they're hostile and they're violent. And the government don't know what to do. They've imported these problems. Now, when that 5 million becomes 10 million, that 8 million becomes 16 million, what's right changes. What the government does, which is usually the right honourable thing and choosing the right side of history, changes. Which countries recognise the Palestinian state? France, Germany, Britain. Why do you think that is? Yeah? Because of the Islamic takeover of these nations, the safety of not just Jews, but also all non-Jews, is at risk. So that's why this pivotal moment and this fight is so important, that we're all in, this battle that we're all in. I know I've took up a lot of time. I had one more video. Shall we show one more video? Do we have time for one more video? One more. Sorry, Karen. Do you know what one more video is? Let me just, because I've been so stressed, yeah? I've been so stressed because as I'm traveling around the United States, we're trying to pull off the biggest event the country's ever seen, or the world's ever seen, I think. This will be the biggest political rally there has ever been. Yeah? Now, last time, people couldn't see it, so we're trying to get the screens. We've managed to get the success with the police's support. We've got the whole of Parliament Square. We've got the plans for screens every 70 metres up the whole of Whitehall, one of them outside Keir Starmer's front door. And then we've got Trafalgar Square. But whilst we're touring America, and to be honest, this event already wouldn't be happening without some Americans. Americans are stepping forward to help us. We just can't get to the position we're at for the scale of the demonstration. It's costing £560,000. But it's a monumental moment in the resistance of Britain and the cultural revolution that is currently underway that I believe will be viewed in history as the time when Britain stood up. The moment, like we look at the Peasants' Revolt. Well, this is our revolt. This is our moment. This is our time. May 16th, we're going full steam ahead. I'll show you a video. When I talk about, I was pretty depressed. I was pretty frustrated for days. My son has to spend these days with me, and I'm barking at the phone, I'm back and forward negotiating with the police. And I got this morning. I'll play another one, but I got this. We have a band, and I believe that what's currently happening is actually a spiritual revolution, a spiritual battle. And I believe that many things play their part in that, and it's not something that a riot can solve. Trust me, if I thought a riot could solve it, I'd be the first person to think that's what we need to do. But I don't think this is this is not what's needed. It's not what's needed. A cultural revolution, a spiritual revolution, understanding who we are, where we come from. Now, I received this song from the band who are playing live, yeah? I'll just play the start of it.
This is God's kingdom. This is our song. Lift your voice, Britain. Sing and stand strong. From the valleys to the coast, from the cities to the fields.
I was going for a jog as he sent me this, and it lifted me so much, man. The lyrics to it, the battle. He sent me a few. We've got a few. All of these. This is Unite the Kingdom. But I'll show you. So I'm looking forward to the promos already from this. But I tried to explain that it's not about the 1 million or 2 million that turn up on the street. It's about the 60 or 70 or 80 million the people that are going to watch this. And they're going to understand that a spiritual movement is being created. We lost our faith. We lost our culture. We lost our identity. We lost what made us. We lost it. And it was gone. And what filled that void is Marxism, communism, Islamism, LGBTQ+. All these different things filled a void with a country that lost and forgot who they were. And I kept saying at these demonstrations, all we need to do is remember who we are. Yeah? And I say that, I know you're American. As British, we are the fiercest fighters in the world. It's in our DNA. It's in our blood to fight. It's what we do. We don't bow to tyranny, we fight it. And for the last 40 years, we've bowed to it. We have created a generation of cowards who care about themselves, not about their country. I was in Israel. And when I was in Israel, I was at a house and they invited these lone soldiers and young men who have never been to Israel, whose families aren't in Israel, but who were traveling to fight for Israel. And each one of those young men understand there's something far greater than them. There's the Jewish state, there's their homeland, there's their people's future. We've lost that. We don't see anything greater than ourselves as individuals. Yeah? To rebuild that, we need to rebuild community from the bottom, and that's what the Unite the Kingdom movement is. I'll end this now on a quick video, which is the last music. We create songs for each one of these events. These new songs, you will be seeing videos coming out. But as a gentleman knows from Northern Ireland and from Ireland, both groups, whether you're on the loyalist side or the Republican side, music built that resistance. Music builds resistance. Community, culture. We need to understand what we're fighting for, and I'm blessed to be in the United States. As I said, I'll just finish this with the song from our last event. I'm excited about May 16th. I'm also scared about May 16th. If we pull it off, we're on a trajectory of success. I truly am optimistic, and I wasn't. So many people watching what's happening. My position here in the United States, you've been lied to. Many of your commentators on the right are lying to your people. There's a very well-orchestrated and successful campaign, whether it be coming from Qatar or Iran. And they're having great success because many Americans don't know what it's like to grow up in an Islamic ghetto or near an Islamic ghetto, which is why I'm blessed to be here to tell my story to Americans. I went to Florida University yesterday and just tried telling the kids, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea what they're like, yeah? You have no idea what it's like to be surrounded by jihadists. You've got no idea. There is no peaceful Islam, yeah? You don't get it. So I'm blessed to be here. I'll finish it on this song just because it's an advertisement for our next event. And again, yeah, I've had a great time. And I'm carrying on. Right, lads, we're ready? Go.
Ticking, running out of time to save our great nation. Don't ignore the signs. Year after year, we see the decline. Boats keep on coming across the 12-mile line. Media corruption, telling lies after lies. Don't want you to believe what you see with your own eyes. Trust in media at an all-time low. Their lies no longer work, no more stones to throw. Raise the colors, fly it high. Raise the colors, we will defy. Fly your flags, fly them with pride. No need for masks, no need to hide. Just hold the line, we'll win this fight. Our flag's not racist, it's not far right. our country and we want